Boston, we signing off, and that's the bottom line, because I said so. Hey, you guys ready for WrestleMania 32? Give me one more hell yeah. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about. It's good to be back here in Dallas, Texas. Mick Foley, thank you very much, my brother. Hey, they were supposed to have some beer out here. I was gonna bash a bunch of damn beers together, but the guy who was bringing the beer, he got held up and they stole all the beer from him. And I said, we're in Dallas, Texas. There's a couple million people live in this damn town, and you couldn't get another guy to go get some beer. So now, to wrap this show up, I'm just gonna sit here and ask a few more questions, because I ain't got no beer to class together.
Then bonus time here.
Mick, going back to your illustrious career, now that we are off air, but just to bullshit for a second, what was the most painful or the worst bump that you took? Was it indeed that cage? Was it going off over the edge through the announce table? What was the most pain you've ever felt in your life?
I don't know if the one through the cell hurt me the longest. You know, there's a period of time that I don't, recall. You know, so it wasn't as painful as just a simple elbow I dropped on Ron Simmons at Clash of the Champions, which is the most painful thing I'd ever done, and it tore an abdominal muscle. I went to the hospital, and I was convinced I'd shattered my pelvis. Like, I couldn't rationalize how anything else could possibly hurt me that way. And then found out it was a torn abdominal muscle. I didn't realize this is the same type of injury that ends NFL careers. You know, you kind of lose that ability to explode. And fortunately, after 3 weeks out, that was the first time I'd ever missed any period of time because of an injury. And I was able to work around that injury. I couldn't drop an elbow for a year, but then I'd have to kind of pick up and develop other assets to the game. And we're afforded that luxury in wrestling that you don't have in the NFL or the NHL. But man, it just hurt me so bad. I went out and I did commentary with Jesse Ventura and Jim Ross. Minutes after that, my face was white as a sheet. It was a really bad day. But right up there is that day in Munich, with the loss of the year. And I will say, there were some people who tried to divide us over this. Didn't realize that you would take it as the compliment that it was meant as. But fielding Stone Cold's comeback punches in 1998 was no day at the beach, my friends. So.
And protect the business. Knowing what you know now, would you have changed anything? Because you feel the impact. You're doing yoga now. You've lost 50 pounds. You're doing amazing. But you knew early on what you were signing up for.
Yeah.
You ain't signing up for a ballet class.
Right.
This shit's gonna catch up to you. It compounds daily like interest. Would you have changed your style, or if you were to go down to NXT, would you say to those dudes, "Hey man, pick your spots and your bumps, and be smart about it because you only got so many of them left in you"?
You do need to pick them, and I can't say that I would have changed the style. I may have taken the elbow off the menu because structurally coming down on that same hip just repeatedly didn't damage the outside of my hip like I thought it would. It damaged the inside of the pelvic girdle in ways that people in orthopedics had never even seen. It's bad when you go in for X-rays and the guys who've been in the business for 30 years, orthopedic business, go, "I've never seen this before." And then they bring in their colleagues and they like marvel around the thing, and we've got a case study here. And so, kind of like in uncharted territory here. I probably would have found something different. I would have found a finishing move that I could apply every night. When you're out there and you're in like Des Moines and you're dropping elbows at a house show, from 15 feet away at that time, like you're kind of in no man's land. Later on there's a sock, right? And I'm getting 8 times the
play upon the theater aspects.
And some of you don't know this, but Steve was on hand for the birth of Mr. Sacco, right?
We're filming anyway. This is when I hit Vince with the bedpan, and that's when you were trying to entertain Mr. McMahon because you laid on the hospital bed.
And Steve comes up to me that next day and he goes, "Kid, that was some of the funniest stuff." I don't think he said stuff I've ever seen. And I was waiting for him to pull the rug out on me like he'd done one time. He goes, "Hey, it was a hell of a match you and Sid had last night." And he said it like 2 or 3 times. We're getting on an airplane, and I went, really? Oh, thanks, Steve. And he pulled the rug. Oh, kid, it was one of the worst things I've ever. And I was waiting for that because I didn't think the sock thing had been particularly good. I thought it had been pretty good. And he was, no, I'm telling you, it was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. I got to the building in Detroit the next day, and Vince Russo came up and he goes, bro, do you have the sock? And I went, I don't know. And you gotta have him. I said, why? He goes, they're chanting his name, bro. They got signs. And just, who knows? There's a photo, right? Like backstage, right? I had no idea what I was wandering into there.
But see, on this little, that was right there about where I attacked Mr. McMahon. But here's the deal. Me and Mick were in this bathroom, and it was one of the smallest bathrooms I've ever been in with another man. And so we were right there, and he pulls out this sock and he puts it on his head. I said, dude, what is that? He goes, it's Mr. Socko. And he was telling me it was the puppet. He was going to entertain Mr. McMahon. He was going to turn into his finish. And we were laughing our ass off. And so they were banging on the door, said, hey, y'all got to shut the hell up. We're trying to film it here. Mr. McMahon's parts, and me and Jack are laughing our asses off in a little bitty ass closet. It was great.
I remember they had to stop, and they're going, keep it down. They got Vince, he's hooked up to a heart monitor and a respirator for a bruised ankle bone. Because that's the way we roll, right? And he's going, nurse, I asked for apple juice. He's the crankiest patient in the world.
It was so great as a cranky patient, it was ridiculous. Last question. What would you have done with your life had you not gotten into the business of professional wrestling?
Man, you know what? I loved wrestling to the point where I was going to do something. I remember writing in high school, like, career goal. I wrote wrestling writer. I wanted to write for the magazines. When I was in world-class championship wrestling, I wanted to take my kids to Las Colinas, which is about 10, 15 miles away. 1 or 2 times a week, every week, I would go down to the editing suite and I'd watch video Bob Von Gursky at work, because I gave myself a timetable. If I hit 26 and I wasn't making like a living, not like scraping by and, the $50 a week room, like if I wasn't making a living by 26, I wanted to do something else. That was a timetable I gave myself, and I wanted to get into the editing side of it. So I had a pretty good eye, I was always looking to capture moves from different angles, I was like the pain in that guy. Now it's common practice, but I was like the first guy going around, even in WCW, saying, yeah, when you shoot the elbow from an over-the-shoulder shot, you lose the depth perspective. Like, can we come down with a low-angle shot? And Jackie Crockett was the guy going, you know what we'll do? We'll add a shaking effect to that. And so, like, when I would come off that ring apron and I'd hit that ground, Jackie Crockett would be with a low-angle shot, and he'd shake that camera. It was exactly what I was looking for. So I love the idea. I mean, I love the idea that sports entertainment brings, the ability to tell stories. Like, to me, it's second to none. You and I have both done movies. Yours have been more prominent than mine, but we've both been there. It's not the same. You don't get the same rush. There's nothing like that instant feedback, and there's nothing like thinking of a move, like conceiving it and having it happen and getting the reaction that you think it will. And if it doesn't get the reaction you think it will, you try it again, and sometimes you shelve it, but you're constantly learning, constantly adding things, taking things away. And so I like to think that if I didn't end up inside the ring, I would have been the guy outside with the camera, or I would have been, Kevin Dunn in the TV truck, or Kerwin Sifleys, out there. These guys that I always look up to and always made it a point to call and thank when they did a special. Adam Pernucci, Chris Chambers. These guys are the real heroes of WWE.
All right, real heroes, we got a haul in. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset to give us a go-home cue. Mick Foley, Hall of Famer, the hardcore legend. My old buddy, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll see you on Sunday.